Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Toned In Entertainment, where we love pop culture. Today, it's time for another comic book review. Now, while not a new series, we do have a new story to look at by Marvel Comics with Silk, issue number 1. Now, this is the first video on the Silk character here on Toned In Entertainment, and while it's my first coverage, I have, however, read some previous comics with this character, so I am familiar with Cindy Moon, and I'm not going into this series cold. As the issue begins, we see Cindy busting up a robbery with some thieves trying to get their grubby paws on some pricey designer wear. But when Cindy is done busting up their party, they won't be moving fashion forward, they'll only be moving in the direction of the slammer. Now here's where Cindy has to deal with the moral dilemma, as one of the workers wants to show their gratitude by offering her a reward in the form of an article of clothing that she could never be able to afford on her salary as a reporter for Threats Menaces. And as you might have guessed, she does come home with a wardrobe. Even though she knows Peter Parker wouldn't have accepted this reward, Cindy will justify her actions that Peter also didn't spend 10 years locked up inside of a bunker. Now, while Cindy Moon goes by her alter ego Silk when she's out fighting crime, while she's out reporting on crime, her boss, the ever lovable James Jameson, has given her a nickname of Analog, and I'm gonna presume she got it because of her old-fashioned ways of doing things. The case that Cindy will be working in this issue is one where she's teamed up with fellow reporter Derek, and they are going to investigate a pub where Derek has learned through a source that the Mulligans have all been shot up. But while investigating what they told was a shooting, Cindy comes to the quick realization that the Mulligans were brought down by something that has claws instead of bullets. But that will be all she'll be able to gather as Derek and her are quickly escorted out of the crime scene, but not before Derek sneaks a quick pick. Now, being the go-getter that Cindy is, she'll quickly whip up an article called Freakish Murder of the Mulligan Gang Raises Tons of Questions. As Cindy leaves for the night, she catches the elevator down with Jameson. She tells him how Derek took her to a murder scene today, and in Jameson's typical way of thinking, he tells her that scenes like that are no place for a girl, and then he even goes into a rant on how girls nowadays are all into weights and that he believes no man is interested in a woman bodybuilder. But as Jameson makes his way home for the evening, a couple of thugs come to him with a message that they want today's news story taken down, or him and his company will face the consequences. Now, Jameson will be his stubborn self and will tell these low-life thugs that he will not be threatened, and that's when he finds himself in a handicap match that is until Silk comes along to provide some assistance. Now, there's two interesting things that will come out of this. Number one, Silk will discover some type of strange earpiece that one of the thugs has, and after doing some research, she discovers it came from the tech company Fujinet, who in a statement from the daughter of the founder, Saya Ishii, says that Fujinet is all about connection and that its goal is not for power, but to make the world a better place. Now, the second thing that will come from this will be that Jameson will give into his own ego and will offer Silk to be his own personal bodyguard after this ambush, and that not only is he not going to take the story down, but wants to look into it even more. Now, as this issue wraps up, we're going to see that Miss Aishi is doing some dirt behind the scenes and that she is in cahoots with the beast that was responsible for the Mulligans' mishap. As we find out, the Mulligans won't be the last to feel her wrath, or if they don't agree to her terms, as she says, 1 down, 7 to go. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Silk issue number 1 an 8 out of 10. I do believe whether you're familiar or learning about the character Silk for the very first time, writer Marine Goo's story is simple enough for newcomers, yet those of us who are familiar with Cindy Moon can feel like we're swinging along with her latest adventure. And complementing the story is the art by Takishi Mayazawa and the color by Ian Herring, which is bright and colorful and laid out nicely. Now, will Silk be able to deal with this monster that plans on knocking off the gangsters in Queens before it's too late? Well, we'll just have to wait and see when Silk issue 2 swings onto comic book store shelves on April 28th. Alright guys, well that's going to wrap up this comic book review for Silk issue number 1. Now, did you read this issue? And if you did, what are your thoughts? Comment down below. I thought this was a good kickoff for what's planned to be a 5-issue mini-series. Now, also coming this week here on the channel, we have reviews for Shadecraft issue number 1 and Nuclear Family issue number 2. So guys, if you like comic book reviews like this, make sure you stay tuned in here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.